And that's why I think, I mean, we may maintain the semblance of democracy, and individually we take initiatives and we do go and challenge and so on. But there is a very serious, I don't want to say violation, but a very serious absence in the political and democratic structure of Palestine, with the PLC so sadly paralyzed and so absent. And we were hoping that we could have rescued it earlier. But now, after its term ended, again, we continue to improvise, but hopefully there will be elections, and I believe that's the only way out.
We have time for a few more questions. Please.
Thank you. The Israeli occupation is a very profitable enterprise. I mean, you just mentioned homes confiscated and no money exchanged, land taken, products, Palestinian products are whisked away as Israeli products. Now, there is a movement called the Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions. Would it possibly make it hard for illegal settlement products and Israeli illegal products from Palestinian land become hard for them to carry on? Because when you look at the total annual production, much of it comes from Palestinian land. How are you going to create a situation for Israel to decide to dislodge from an occupation that has given it its identity, its idea of what it is being a nationalist as an IDF? All these kids come to Palestine and become Israeli by occupying Palestinians. And taking land by force, confiscating property at will, and so for no cost of any kind to them. Yeah. How are you going to make it hard for them to maintain such a profitable enterprise?
That was one of the basic premises of our non-violent resistance, is to make the occupation not profitable, but rather to make it costly. And it's very important that we do support the boycott, divestment, sanctions movement, particularly as a global sort of popular movement. No Israeli products. In particular, we address the European Union not to accept any of the settlement products, and we address the issue of the certificate of origin, because they used to say that the certificate of origin of the settlement products was Israel. And the EU does not recognize the annexation of Jerusalem or the settlements or the West Bank. And so they say, no, you need to indicate that the certificate of origin, these were done in or produced in Israeli settlements on Palestinian land. And then they made them illegal. This is ongoing now. The authority took a decision that they will not in any way accept or sell or deal with products of the settlements. Now Israel has lodged an official complaint with the U.S. that this is not helpful. This is incitement. How dare we refuse to deal with settlement products? Really? That this is bad faith. We should accept the settlements that on our land, using our water and our products, and displaced people, and they want us to buy their products. If we're asking the whole world not to buy the settlement products, we should buy them. And of course, many times the settlements are used to siphon, to sell to the Palestinians medicines that are dated, products that are already, that are bad for your health, banned products like pesticides, insecticides, and so on. So the settlements have been very lethal to people around that area.
Hanan, do you know if the European Union has enforced its certificate of origin policy?
It has. It has enforced it. Now, I think the Brits... remind me, man. I think the Brits were the first to really enforce it. Yes, truth in labeling. And there's a popular movement about that, and there are people, consumers, who are saying not only don't we want to use settlement products, we don't want Israeli products at all. So there's a universal boycott of Israeli products until Israel stops its occupation and stops the land theft of the Palestinian lands and freedoms, of course. So that's one way. And making the occupation not profitable is also has legal and moral and economic implications. Now the whole standing of Israel is being challenged. They're saying this is the legitimacy of Israel. That's mine, ignore it. I'm sorry. I don't know. They say we're challenging their legitimacy. We're saying Israel is destroying its own legitimacy. We're not. What we're saying is that we are challenging Israel's moral standing, legal standing, and political accountability as well as legal accountability. And we're doing that by, again, exposing its actions, holding it accountable, and carrying through with these measures that I discussed earlier.
We have time for just one more question. Our hour is up, but let's have one more question, please. The lady in the back row.
I just wanted to know, going into the proximity talks, what does the Palestinian Authority hope to achieve, or what do you expect will come out of them?
I wish I had a crystal ball or something. Look, to be very frank and very realistic, given the nature of this Israeli government, I don't expect much. We really don't. But what we can hope for is to see an American will and an international will first to stop the settlements, particularly in and around Jerusalem, to bring Israel to compliance. If that happens, that could open the door to many things, particularly if Israel agrees that any talks have to deal with all the substantive issues, all issues, not just water or Israel's security, but Jerusalem and refugees and borders and so on, and that there is a clear time frame, clear objectives, definition of the end game, and that there is arbitration involved. And perhaps then we will see some creative proposals and ideas coming up that will speed up the process before it's too late, and that will bring the international community. I believe you have to have the Quartet on board, you have to have the Arab Initiative on board. The Americans want to lead it, but show that you have the plan, the vision, and the will to lead it, to end the occupation. This is the real test now, whether we can end the occupation, not reorganize it, not make it palatable, not carry out cosmetic changes, not give the Palestinians economic ease. They tried that in the 80s, remember? No, we need now to move rapidly, and we need, again, the UN to recognize the Palestinian state that is being built on the ground, and to recognize it as a means of ending the occupation and enabling it to exercise sovereignty. But these proximity talks are a very, very, very modest first step, because Israel was busy destroying everything and attempting sort of process for its own sake. Let's talk again and again and again while we create facts.
Hanan, thanks for a wonderful presentation. We were, as we expected, and thank you all for coming on behalf of the Middle East Institute and the Foundation for Middle East Peace.